Hi again. The insulting news that Buckingham Palace is about to undergo refurbishment to the tune of over £250 million just about sums up the decadent, inhuman conditions prevailing in this country. The Queen already has 7 or 8 more palaces. Buckhouse itself contains over 700 rooms. Meanwhile, at the opposite end of the social scale, hundreds of street homeless will be sleeping in these freezing temperatures, only a short stroll from the palace, dying a little every day, physically and mentally. Well over 2 million languish on social housing lists. 3 million plus children live in poverty. Over 1 million families depend on food banks. This refurbishment, paid for by us, is the latest slap in the face for a growing number of people living in precarious circumstances. In any other country on the planet, even one groaning under brutal dictatorship, the equivalent of this Buckhouse obscenity would have aroused mass protests, barricades erected, passionate debate, clashes with the forces of order. Here, zero. Absolute zero. Nothing. This, to me, is an interpretation of decadence. Let's look at the top of the so-called opposition, the likes of Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell. Not a token word of protest about this Buckhouse outrage. In fact, McDonnell himself on the Andrew Marr show Sunday said he approved of the money being spunked on a royal residence because it's a public building. Try telling that to the hundreds huddling in central London's doorways tonight. No public figures, celebrities, politicians, high-profile members of the Commissariat, such as Paul Mason, have raised a word of indignation. So no wonder the homeless themselves and untold millions are unwilling or unable to protest this or other blatant insults. Nor do we struggle against social cleansing as London is cleared of its working class to make way for the world's rich. This is the other face of decadence, where the oppressed themselves are lacking the will, feeling powerless to rise against austerity, social cleansing. A disproportionate amount of ex-servicemen are street homeless. Many of them still remain loyal to the monarchy and everything it represents as they shiver to death on the streets. If you think I'm having you on, go and talk to them yourselves. The Queen, as head of state, is about to welcome President-elect Trump. This will be when you'll see the left and liberals on the streets, but it won't be about the refit. It will be about Trump's presence on our sacred British turf. Our class acquiescence to naked attacks, blatant provocations, can also be described as decadence written large. We allow the bosses to walk all over us. We tolerate our communities being destroyed, then taken over by the international rich. Almost every space we inhabit, from our homes right through to our cultures, have been occupied by the sneering middle class. We endure countless injustice and outrage without raising an eyebrow. But most disgusting, embarrassing of all, is this grovelling before the Queen and the royal offspring. And we've got the nerve to laugh disdainfully at the Americans for electing Trump. I tell you, seriously, in any other country, hundreds of thousands would be out on the streets, new movements springing up, direct action, confrontation would be a regular occurrence. Here, it is dead. We've drifted on a sea of apathy into a one-party electoral state that's incapable of reform, even to save itself. But as there's no challenge on any level, why should the establishment actually bother? My question is, when the system finally buckles and shudders to a halt and shatters under its own unresolved contradictions, will we finally react? That's what we must attempt to answer and prepare for and to bring into reality. And, may I personally add, take note of the grovellers who debase themselves before the monarchy, who pretend to be on our side, the likes of Corbyn, MacDonald and their ilk. They are scum politicians and should be treated as such, both now and in the future. Bye.